It's very rare for me to come across a Jack video I haven't seen before, but seeing as he's been on this website for like 15 years, I'm not really surprised that there are some things that I've missed, but this is a more recent abomination. Something that was recommended to me in the comments that was posted only a little over 5 months ago. I haven't really stayed too up to date with a lot of Jack's recent videos, but I do know that there are some things lying underneath the surface. Other than the suggestion for this video, I don't think I've heard of it before. It's a lazy man's recipe, but you'll see. While we're at it, don't forget to subscribe because we're trying to reach 500 subs before the channel's 5th anniversary in April, and we're almost past 400, so why don't you help out some? It'd be mighty appreciated. This is Jack's Lazy Man's Chicken Enchilada. No, I'm sorry. This is Jack's Lazy Man's Meatball Enchiladas?
Hey guys,
Why? I've been jump scared too many times by other videos I've covered within the past week. Don't do that to me, Jack. The last thing I need is you turning on me too. Intro-wise, I don't know all of his new intros, but it just doesn't have the same pizzazz as the past ones do.
Hey guys, what's going on? Jack Scalfani here. It's Cooking with Jack Show.
Why does he have so much energy?
Basically, we've got 2 big bowls of these meatballs that I had got out of the freezer. I want to cook them up because they're going to expire in a few weeks, and I'm going to make some meatball enchiladas right now.
I've never known in the years I've been watching Jack for him to be somebody to worry about food expiring, especially frozen food expiring. This is the man that made garbage stew, where he took everything that was going bad in his fridge and threw it into one pot and called it food.
This is going to be really easy. You guys ready? Come on in. Once again, lazy recipe.
I have never seen a bag of cheese that big in my life. I bought some pretty big bags. That is a 5-pound bag of cheese.
You got the frozen meatballs. So before I use these I'm going to make like a casserole dish with these meatballs. I'm going to brown these up in a pan with a little bit of oil.
1, those meatballs are gray, and 2, they look like the inside of the fake Krabby Patties from that one SpongeBob episode where they're like mass producing Krabby Patties. It looks like that gray, not even goo, just gray material that was inside.
I like my meatballs to have an outer crust, so I'm going to toss these around in a hot frying pan for a little bit before I use them in my casserole dish.
I can't tell if those are pre-cooked or not. Since they're darker, I would assume that they're pre-cooked. I'm also going out on a limb here and assuming that those are not homemade meatballs. Those are just meatballs that he bought from whatever grocery store he felt like going to that day. I'm calling it now. Jack says he's going to brown the meatballs in a frying pan. They're going to be very crispy on the bottom. You will be able to see a brown or black spot in one particular area of the meatball because he did not move them consistently enough to get the same color all around.
Then I'm going to use red enchilada sauce, do some onion powder, taco seasoning, and Mexi cheese, okay? And I think that's it, right? All right, I got a lot of meatballs, so I'm making 2 batches. One batch is going to go to Tammy's work, and all the workers are going to feast off that. One will stay here at the house.
Oh, Jack, don't subject other people to your food. It's bad enough that your family has to eat this stuff. It's another thing when your wife is taking it to her place of work and giving it to other people. What's that one meme? It's like, this is why you can't eat at other people's houses because you don't know what they're putting into the food or you don't know what the environment they're cooking the food in is like. Jack.
But I gotta get rid of these meatballs because I don't want them going bad on me.
Okay, so he's gonna feed his wife's coworkers a bunch of almost expired meatballs.
So, this is what we're gonna do. Pour your sauce in a bowl. Your 1 can of sauce.
Yeah, you can hear those meatballs frying in the background. There is no way he's moving those consistently enough to get an even brown on them. There is going to be a dark spot. Of course, a dark spot on a meatball, especially if it's pan fried, isn't a bad thing. Maybe it's just a personal preference thing for me, but I prefer my meatballs to be evenly cooked rather than having a crunchier spot on the bottom.
Just gonna pour some onion powder in the mix. There we go. Some taco seasoning, gonna pour that in the mix.
That's not gonna mix well.
Just gonna mix this up. Meatballs are almost ready. So we're just gonna get that all mixed in. I did a little olive oil spray.
Now, when Jack says olive oil spray, hello, Mr. Plain. I'm sure he means olive oil flavored spray, not actual olive oil, because that would just be going against the thesis of everything the Lazy Man recipes stand for. Using an actual ingredient that's not some sort of variant of prepackaged, I don't think so.
There we go.
What did I say? Jack, you should have just baked the meatballs. Baked meatballs are fine. You could have deep fried them, anything other than what you did, because you can now clearly tell that they were pan fried by somebody who was not being attentive enough to their food to move it around correctly. So picture these co-workers of Tammy's sitting there eating this okay looking dish. I'd assume, we don't know what the final product will look like yet, but eating this dish and, oh, this looks okay. I mean, at least we're getting free food. And then scoop it in your mouth and why is the top soft but the bottom is rock hard on this meatball? It's because Jack didn't care enough to evenly cook them.
There we go.
Look at that one, right? That one is like charred on the bottom.
Okay, so we're going to spread the meatballs out. We're going to start pouring.
Oh, why is... He didn't say he put anything else in the sauce, right? Aside from the onion powder and the taco seasoning. And that... Let me go back for a moment.
Pour your sauce in a bowl.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That enchilada sauce, when he pours it out initially, is just liquid. There's no chunks of tomato or onion or anything in it. Now, going back to the mixture that he pours on top of the meatballs, why is it chunky? The only justification I can see for why it's chunky, because he didn't put any other ingredients in it aside from the powder, is that he did not mix it well enough for the powder to evenly disperse, and it ended up clumping together into these balls. So again, along with the crispy bottom meatball, when somebody takes a bite of this, they have a very high likelihood of biting straight into a chunk of onion powder. And if you've ever eaten like boxed mac and cheese that isn't properly mixed, you know that is not a pleasant experience to just bite into a mouthful of powder.
Grip of cheese. Put that about, I'm going to put it at 350 until the cheese looks melted and slightly golden brown, okay? Let's let this cool off a little bit.
Is that all this is cheese, meatballs, and sauce? Where does you can't put enchilada sauce on something and call it enchiladas, Jack. That's not, where's the tortilla? And why did you put cheese on the bottom of the pan? That's just going to be soggy and melted. It's not going to scoop up properly when you try to take this slop out of the pan. I'm guessing that Jack would assume it might crisp up on the bottom and form almost a tortilla shell layer of cheese, but we all know that's not going to happen, especially with processed shredded cheese like this, where it has a particular anti-caking agent in it to make sure that when it melts, it doesn't stick together. That's just meatballs and sauce, Jack. If you called it like a Mexican meatball casserole or something like that, that would be fine, but you have no right to call this enchilada enchiladas. I don't even like enchiladas that much, but somebody has to champion for them so that we know how much of a bastardization this is.
Let's let this cool off a little bit. We'll try it out, and we'll go get the other tray for Tammy's work.
Oh, I forgot he's making 2 trays of this.
It's all coming out good.
You can see that the cheese on the bottom has just kind of mingled with the sauce and not done anything in particular to benefit the dish. At that point, you might as well have just put more cheese on top of it and not put any on the bottom of the pan.
Not a lot of juice. Well, I mean, you have plenty of juice, but you do have juice.
Do I even need to say anything?
Got a lot of cheese. Yep, it's cooled off. Good. This is something inexpensive my mom would have made.
And there we see our favorite fade cut transition as Jack puts the food in his mouth, tastes it, and immediately spits it out so we don't have to see him attempt to swallow it on camera.
This is something inexpensive my mom would have made. Would have fed us for 1 or 2 nights. Try this one. All the meatballs are marinated in that enchilada sauce. Got that Mexican flavor. Love it.
I don't doubt that this probably tastes okay. I mean, it's meat, cheese, and sauce. You can't really go wrong there. What is so bad about it is the execution, the failure to properly mix the powders into the sauce, the odd addition of more cheese in an area that's not going to benefit from it, the uneven browning of the meatballs from a chef who left his pan unattended while he made the other sauce. And chefs and home cooks many times multitask in the kitchen. That's nothing new, but it seems like Jack can only do one thing at once. Remember back in the macaroni and cheese episode where he had to make the sauce and then boil the water and make the penne pasta? It seems like he's incapable of doing more than one task in the kitchen at a time, and that only comes out to his own detriment because it makes the end product all the worse for it.
Yeah, real good. All right, let me put the rest back. I'm going to wrap this up for tonight's dinner. Gave it a try. I gave it a big thumbs up. Took seconds to put together.
If you ask me, I wouldn't classify this as a lazy man's recipe. Sure, there's only a few ingredients and the end result you just have to pop in the oven, but it still takes a decent amount more effort than, like, the lazy man's garlic bread. This still requires the creation of a sauce rather than just dumping enchilada sauce onto it. It requires, in a separate bowl, mixing the sauce and all the different spice powders, as well as browning the meatballs. I'm sure he could have just cut the corner and not even put the meatballs in the frying pan and just let them bake in the oven. He could have baked them in the oven for a while and then poured the sauce and cheese on top and finished baking it, and that would have taken considerably less time. When Jack proclaims something as a lazy man's recipe, sometimes it takes more steps to make than if you were just making the dish normally. My only hope is, because he already took a portion out of this one, so this is the one that they're going to be eating at his house. So my hope is, at the very least, for the one that he's making for his wife's workplace, mix the sauce better, Jack. I'm sure he already pre-cooked the meatballs for that one as well, so there's no saving that. But it looks like he only made 1 can of sauce for this portion, and so he'll probably have to make another one. So I hope that's the saving grace for those poor men and women that are going to be subject to a tray full of meat and cheese that somehow still got messed up in the baking process. And that's going to do it for this episode, folks. Thanks y'all for watching. Leave a like and a comment down below. Share any Jack videos that you think I should cover or any other channels. As always, thanks for supporting and sticking around, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.